from ABC News Radio, KMET 1490 in Southern California. This is BizNinja Entrepreneur Radio with your host, Tyler Jorgensen.
Welcome out to BizNinja Entrepreneur Radio. I am your host, Tyler Jorgensen, and today we get to have the wonderful pleasure of talking with Sally Schimko, the founder and CEO and president, and probably a lot of other roles right now of the Tahini Goddess. Welcome out to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So, for people that are tuning in, what is the Tahini Goddess? Let's start with that. What is your product and what do you do?
So, I want to start by saying I was born and raised in Israel. So, tahini is something I grew up with, and really, the Tahini Goddess was created out of necessity around me, mainly from my audience on my Instagram platform, to really bring the tahini that we made in Israel to the US.
Okay.
When I started my food blog almost 3 years ago, I used to always have a Tahini Thursdays on my blog long before I even dreamed to have my own or even thought about it. So I really advocate for tahini from day one. It was always such a big part of my diet all my life.
So for those who don't know or haven't heard of tahini before, what is tahini?
So tahini is simply made out of sesame seeds.
Okay.
That's it. That's simple. Sesame seeds are so magical. They have so many different health benefits. They're very rich with vitamin and minerals. They are incredible to improve hair, skin, nails. For me, the most magical is that they are anti-inflammatory. I truly believe in anti-inflammatory food as preventative medicine. And it's a big part of the Mediterranean lifestyle and the Mediterranean diet that I grew up on.
When in your journey of like launching this product, let's go back a little bit farther in your life, right? When did you first realize that you were an entrepreneur?
Wow, I still need to pinch myself every day. I am so humble every day that I see sales, I see someone buying my tahini. I am shocked, I'm like, wow. Someone else, I nothing is for granted. Even now, after a year of having such an amazing journey, because I really experiment a lot of success with my product. But I think, the first day that I created my own shop on, Shopify and on the website, the first day you kind of like, start to apply for your trademark, you kind of like, oh, okay, this is like real. Yeah, I'm doing it.
So you'd been a creator and you'd been in the business for a while, right? Because you started as a blogger. And at that point, did it not feel like a business to you?
No, I felt like I'm sharing my food, my recipes, and I really felt like I have impact on, on my follower and my audience. And I felt like I'm creating, connections and relationship. But I didn't feel like it's a business yet. It was very different than really coming up with your own product, because it's so easy to talk and show other products, right?
Sure.
But then suddenly when it was my own, I felt like I'm starting from scratch again. If
Absolutely.
It makes sense.
Yeah, it's a total shift. And so, but you had been learning at least how to make connections, how to build community. How did your community respond when you launched your version, your brand?
It's funny because, I had a question not too long ago in one of my interviews, and they asked, was it helpful to have your audience and your platform before you came up with your product? And the answer is that I would have never created this product without them. And it's 100% the truth, because the idea of manufacturing my own tahini and to even try to get into this industry and to realize why the tahini that we have in the US wasn't tasty for the American crowd, I wouldn't even think about it without them. I would have never thought about it. There was a necessity around me, and that's why I decided to do it.
Yeah. So is a lot of your audience based in the US?
Most of them, yes.
Okay. And so you're
say,
teaching them about the Mediterranean diet. You're teaching them about, all the things that you do. And one of the things you kept talking about was tahini, so then you decide, okay, I need to launch my own version of this.
So
is that a really short summary?
No, for almost a year, I would share recipes with tahini, and I would be so sad to get so many messages that saying, Sally, we bought tahini, it's disgusting.
Okay.
Or Sally, how do you work with that? That's so pasty and I didn't realize back then. Now I realize, as an Israeli girl that grew up with tahini all my life, it's kind of like, I always say the peanut butter or the ketchup, you will make it work, because you're used to it, you're used to the taste, you're used to, how to season it, how to play with it. But really, for someone that never tried tahini before, or for someone that doesn't have any kitchen experience, for him to go and buy the basic tahini that's in the store was completely different.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that until they started telling me. And I used to travel every summer. I visit my family in Europe and in Israel. So every summer I would take my audience on a journey with me, food journey in all of my happy places. And they would always message me, bring with you tahini, bring with you halva, please bring it from Israel. And after a year of sharing, one of that summer came again. And I thought to myself, you know what? It's probably so simple to make tahini, because you just need to take the sesame and grind it, put it in a container. I can do it. And I decided to do my own research and started visiting the tahini factories in Israel. And wow, I was shocked that wasn't the case at all. There is so many different types of sesames. There's so many different types of factories, so many type of methods how to do it.
I think a lot of Americans can relate to saying, like, for example, peanut butter. They don't like, most people that like peanut butter will like one type of peanut butter or one brand and one style. And so I'm sure that's similar in any other product. And so you had to find one that, and having lived overseas as well, like the things that get exported are not always the most popular. It's just the one that, or the best. They're just the one that had the relationship for the export. So if the products that are being brought into the US aren't the quality that you would eat, then it's not going to be the ones that you would share or hope other people try in their recipes. And so you saw an opportunity there.
I saw an opportunity, and then I decided I'm taking it to the next level.
Okay. So what was that next level? Like when you decided you were going to manufacture and do your own brand, what was the first big hurdle that you had to overcome?
Removing the sesame peels. I had no idea that when you buy almost any tahini on the market, unfortunately, even ones that are made in Israel, and if you're going to take your spoon, I actually have here my tahini. So if you're going to take a spoon and stir it, you're not going to be able to have this butter texture. You're going to have a huge pasty clump in the bottom. And I didn't understood why that happened until I started learning everything from scratch. And I realized that that's how really the tahini industry make money. Because when you grind your tahini with the sesame skin, and that will happen, by the way, with peanuts or almonds or anything, if you include the skin, then you will get double, triple, sometimes even 4 times the quantity. Once I removed the sesame skin out, I noticed that, you're left with probably a third of the tahini, but the quality, the texture, and most importantly, once you remove the skin, it's so much easier to digest, because our digestive system is not supposed to digest all the skin and the peel of all those nuts and those seeds. So that's really, really important.
Yeah.
The second thing that was most important for me, we don't know, a lot of the time we buy food in a jar And it says so many beautiful things. You're getting protein, you're getting vitamins, you're getting minerals, da 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 da. But what is the process behind it? If you're roasting, if you manufacture the tahini in a modern factory, which that's how it's done today, you're roasting the seeds on a very high heat, and you're basically going to kill all the vitamins and the minerals. So by doing it the old-fashioned way, because we are millstone grounding our tahini, and the stones are real Israeli stones from like 1,000,000 years ago. You cannot get that flavor without it. And that's a game changer, between a product that is done where it's supposed to, from the source versus, a different product. So we remove the sesame peel. We roast them on a very low temperature to keep all the beautiful benefits of the sesame seed that we spoke in the beginning. And one of the things that was really important for me is glass jars. Just as other people would think about a beer or a Coke, the taste between a beer in a can or a beer in a glass jar is major. And so the taste will be different. And obviously, the environment that is so important for me.
So you had a lot, in the consumer packaged goods space, there's a lot that you have to figure out. There's not just the manufacturing, but then there's the packaging, there's the labeling, there's making sure you're doing things in a compliant way. Then there's figuring out how to actually ship it to your customers and handle all of that, right? There's a lot of pieces in place that a lot of people don't understand or expect to have to worry about when they're starting. You figured out the manufacturing, and you figured out that you had people in the US that wanted to buy some of it. How did you bridge, the idea and making it in a great way? Like, what other challenges did you guys face as you were trying to get it actually shipped to the US and into the end user's hands?
So to be honest, for me, the importing part was a little bit less complicated because this is something my husband is doing for years. So I did have help and advices from him. And if I wouldn't have him, I really suggest anyone, don't be shy. Go to your friends or other businesses on Instagram. People are so lovely and wonderful, and they want to share. Don't hesitate. Put yourself out there. Ask for help. Don't be ashamed to ask for help because especially if you're like me and I'm doing everything for the first time. I had my first business in the fashion industry, and it was way before I have kids. It was a different experience. So I felt like I'm coming back and I'm like a dinosaur now, right? Because so many have changed. So yes, for the importation, it's something that went pretty smooth for me because I had help with that and the experience. But, the first shipment, almost all my glasses jars was broken.
So that's the thing. You're like, yeah, it went so smooth. It was great. And then you get to the real story, which is that
the reality of having your own business. And that's when people say you need thick skin. They're not joking. You really need thick skin because once you figure out the ingredients and the formula and the concentration and the importation, and then this happened. And everyone in Israel recommended me to do it in a plastic jars because they say it's so much harder to work with glass, especially when you're starting and you never did it before. You shouldn't do it. And I'm like, well, if I do it in plastic, then I don't want to do it. Yeah. So, I'm very stubborn.
So you had that first shipment where you had all the glasses break.
I thought I knew what I'm doing. Yeah. I really thought so. And then I was so excited, the first shipment arrived to my garage and I opened the boxes, they're from Israel. I'm so excited. And I start to open and I'm like, oh, probably just this one is broken. I see all the tahini. I'm like, probably this one. No, almost the entire, shipment was broken. And now I'm laughing. Back then I was crying.
Yeah. How did you solve that for your next shipment?
I sold whatever I had, and I already saw the reaction was amazing. So I wasn't scared. The next day I took a warehouse, I placed a bigger shipment. I decided that I'm going to nail this glass packaging. I started contacting, many other companies that importing with glass, and And I'm still working on improving it, by the way.
Yeah.
Now we're trying something new because, things will always happen. So even a year later, I am still working on our packaging for importing it from Israel to here and sending it from our warehouse to the consumer. So it's never end.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always another problem to have, another solution to create. So as you guys, you said you built your first store on Shopify. You had your audience because you built up a pretty good size following on Instagram. Is that the primary place where you communicate with your audience? Is Instagram?
Yes, I think absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Any big tips for other entrepreneurs on Instagram success?
I think that if you are really, transparent, real, and really share what you're most passionate about, then it's something that you can feel through the screen. And I think that sharing ups and downs is very important. And I really also think, like, as much as we want to share, we also need to always step back and listen. I always say that I create my content based on my DMs. I love reading them at night. And then I'm like, okay, that's what's going to happen tomorrow, because I feel the need for that. I feel like, that's what people are missing. And it's based on what they write me and on their emails,
Yeah.
And
that's really smart. And I hope that doesn't just pass over people. Even if your audience is small, pay attention to what they're saying, right? What they're commenting, which posts they all of a sudden react to. And then once they get a little bit bigger and you're getting DMs and you're getting comments, that's your catalyst for what else you build and what else you create. And I think that creates a really strong relationship where people feel that, and they feel heard, even though they're just, on Instagram, right? And so that's really neat. What, as you're growing your brand, as the Tahini Goddess is starting to get bigger here in the US, what are your big goals for the company over the next couple of years?
My dream is to really be in more grocery stores. So to be available for people that want to avoid shipping, that want to have it locally next to them. And really my goal from number one was for people to eat more vegetables. And that's the reason I used to show the tahini, because tahini will encourage me personally to eat more vegetables. For me, I always say it's never about the salad, it's about the dressing. And even if it's grilled vegetables or it's, fish or meat or steak, it's never about that. I always love a yummy, delicious dressing on top. So I realized that, that's what happened when I started teaching people about the tahini, that to stay away from all the process, dressing. When I first moved to the US from Israel, and I always loved to go into grocery stores. But when I realized that there is an aisle dedicated for dressing, for salad dressing, I was shocked. We didn't have that in Israel. Like, we didn't have because it's so processed.
Oh yeah. So were you just as shocked to see that when you started looking at each product that most of them were all sugar based?
I was like, what is that? I was shocked because vinegar in Israel, in France, where my background is so healthy. It's simply vinegar and olive oil, and suddenly you see it has color and flavor and all of this. I was so shocked, and I realized, oh my God, this is such a misconception, because all those people on Instagram eating so much vegetables, but then they pour all of those and they really use it because they don't know anything else.
Yeah. Americans are really good about making health food candy. They're really, really good at it. And so a lot of it is exactly what you just said, though, is that they don't know it. They don't know any better. If you're told that eating a salad is healthy, but then you're not taught that it also matters what dressing you use, then, you'll see somebody eating a salad thinking they're eating healthy, but pouring 2,000 calories of a really bad processed dressing on it and still thinking they're eating healthy.
Right. And that's, that's sad because it's exactly like you said, it's not from a choice. That's what you know.
Right.
And when you go to any place, in Europe, in Israel, there is no salad dressing. There's olive oil on the table and fresh lemon. We don't know anything else. It's not that we are like, okay, I'm brilliant. No, it's just that that's what I grew up having around me. But the tahini was always my favorite dressing. And the reason I love it is because it adds the plant-based protein factor into it. And it's more creamy and dense. If you would ask me to choose my favorite American dressing, for sure would be the Caesar dressing. I love mayo. I do. I love mayonnaise. But do I want to eat it every single day? No. So that's why really it was important for me. And that will always be my goal. If people would buy the tahini and when they get home, they would use it with vegetables or, their animal protein. And it's going to make that tiny, tiny difference between using a bottle that is full of sugar and canola oil to a bottle that it's, made out of pure sesame seeds. Then that's my ultimate goal.
I love that. Now, Sally, I'm a big believer that we build businesses, one, because we want to create impact, but two, because we also want to create a lifestyle that we love. What is something on your personal bucket list, not business related, but personal, that you're going to accomplish in the next 12 months?
In what personal what?
Bucket list, or what's a major life goal that you're going to do in the next 12 months?
Oh my God.
Somewhere you're going to go, something you want to do, something you want to have, anything like that.
Believe me or not, I just miss traveling so much. It used to be such a big part of my life. I will do anything. I always say, if I have a budget anytime in life, that's my number one is traveling. Yeah. I love traveling, and I feel
where's somewhere that you'd absolutely love to go?
Well, right now, home, I haven't been in Israel in 2 years. It's the first time that it happened to me. And there's so many big things that I missed because of COVID. But really, if there's something I learned from the last year, that we can't plan anything anymore. It's so sad, but it's kind of like my defense mechanism. I'm like, if you tell me right now, tomorrow you can travel, what's your happiest? Is a ski vacation, but it's summertime already. So
that's okay. It was in the next year. So ski vacation sounds perfect. Yeah, good answer. Yeah. That works. All right. Well, Sally, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you about your journey and about what you're doing. I hope that everyone goes and checks you out on Instagram. It is the Tahini Goddess, and on online, it's the TahiniGoddess.com. That's where people can find you. Any last words of advice for everybody?
No, that's it. Even if they are looking for healthy recipes, I share almost every day many recipes. They're all less than 5 minutes prep. My goal is always 3 to 5 ingredients. Very simple. I'm a full-time working mom, so I love mess-free, easy, fast. Thank you so much for having me. Had so much fun.
Thanks so much for coming out. Now, my Biz Ninjas, wherever you're listening, it's your turn to go out and do something.
Thank you for listening to Biz Ninja Entrepreneur Radio with Tyler Jorgensen. Please make sure to subscribe so you're first to hear new interviews and episodes. If you found this podcast to be valuable, please share it with a friend. Don't forget to visit our online dojo at bizninja.com to claim your reward for listening to the show.